Welcome back to the Jin's Treasure. I am back at it again. Early the next day, last night, I went ahead and made a video for this ring, and well, it's for my quality of work so shoddy that it bugged me. It bugged me enough last night that I decided I'm gonna get up early and do another ring tutorial video. And with that, let's get into it. So here I have some 20 gauge wire. And if you saw the last video, then you understand the issue with that last ring was a lack of wire. It's been a while since I had done a ring, making any copper rings. So I greatly underestimated the amount of 24 gauge wire that I needed to complete it. And I did my best to just make the ring smaller, but in the end, it just wasn't worth it. So here I have maybe a hand's length of two 20 gauge wires that are equal in length. And then from my 24 gauge spool, I'm gonna do, let's see, what is this? It's about from the tip of my finger spread out to the back of my neck, and hopefully this will be enough. It should be. And I think I actually probably overestimated the 20 gauge wire, just out of insecurity, I suppose. And here is, I'll introduce my tool once more. This is a ring sizer. You can see the different numbers here, and 10 is the average size of an American ring finger. My fingers, you know, they look stubby on camera, but they're really quite small. I've got small hands. So I'm probably like a, I don't know, 7 or something. We're not gonna go aim for the full 10 today. We're gonna aim for maybe about an 8, maybe 7. So now that I have all the necessary equipment, first thing I'm gonna do is kiss the 2 points of the 24 gauge wire together, slide all the way down, find that middle, and just kind of eyeballing the middle of for the 20 gauge wires. That looks to be about it. So I'll wrap that 24 gauge wire middle loop around the middle here, and then just slowly twine, wrap bands, however you want to call it. I call it wrapping bands. And just gently, you want to make sure that they're tucked in nice and neat. Gently wrapping. And then also you want to make sure that it's not so tight that the 20 gauge wires start to wrap around each other. You want to keep them straight and parallel. And once I have enough bands started, one thing that helps is the flat part of my tools, of my pliers. I just pinch down, and that way those 20 gauge wires are like locked in. They're not gonna be wrapping around each other. And so the strategy or the technique is to wrap just enough that I can release the pinch and then just slide over and pinch down again. And that way it actually keeps these bands nice and flattish, which is more preferable for the person wearing the ring. All right, so then here I'll slide over once more. Maybe I didn't pull off too much wire and just have been greatly underestimating the amount of wire I need. which is not what you want to do. It's always better to overestimate. And we'll do some on the other side. And this side is a little bit more stubborn. If you notice, it tends to want to cross over a little bit more stubbornly. But we just do our best to avoid that. Alright, so then we slide over our pinch and continue. And I think after this one, I'm gonna check the size and status of where we're at as far as length of the wrap. I'm gonna wrap it around the ring sizer to see how much room we have. That's actually probably, I might have gotten a little carried away here, to be honest. Oh, not so bad. All right, so let's aim for a 7. So with that, I'm just gonna wrap it around. I've got a little bit more to do. I'll just do one more little section of bands wrapped. I think that'll be good. So you can see there's like a little nook there, but honestly that's pretty good all in all together. So there I have the 7, and I want to have my wires coming to about the ending of the round part there. And then from there, phase 2 is going to be splitting the wires apart in this kind of a V shape. And then same thing on the other side. Split the wires. And then from there, you take the 24 gauge wire and just wrap it in like a figure 8. Around both wires. Kind of weaving in and out. And you want to have it done just enough that you make it to the point where the split is wide enough to fit the bead in. So if this is the width, oops. This is I believe it looks to be a selenite bead, by the way. Just on the way of that, you see that sheen? It must be. I've only seen selenite do that. So this is good here. I'll flip it around and do the same thing to the other side. Looks good. And then from here, we're gonna take our 24 gauge wires, find the hole of the bead. So I poke this one in from right to left, and then I'm gonna poke the other wire in left to right, reverse. right, so just like I said, coming in this way and out the other way. I want to make sure that the wraps don't get tangled up with the 20 gauge wires. They want to stay in the middle so that when you pull it tight, it doesn't get caught up like that. So I pulled them tight, but perhaps a little bit too tight, because I actually want the ring, I don't want it to be dead center. I want it to be elevated a little bit, so that way there's a nice space hole for the finger to go through, right? And then for that in mind, I'm gonna make sure that these 24 gauge wires are both on the upside above both these, all four of these 24 gauge wires, so that when I lay them down, it kind of helps keep that bead elevated. And I think I hear, it's a little bit early, but I think I hear one of my coworkers might be coming in the door in a second. So if that happens, just bear with me. We'll play it cool. Be cool, be cool. All right. And then from here, we're gonna take the 24 gauge wire and wrap it around both 20 gauge wires. And just weave it around both of them. In and out. In, out, and around. We got lucky. It was actually another coworker who, in a separate room, stayed the night here as well, and she's just going out to walk her dog. So we're all good. We got lucky there. Nobody's going to disturb us. All right, so that looks good on that side. I'm gonna flip it around and do the exact same thing to the other side. So we'll just poke it under, around both of them, and then under. And then the same thing. And just keep weaving this way. Sorry about that. My apologies. We're just gonna keep weaving until we get to here, just all the way through. So the thing that's kind of interesting to me about having a Selenite bead, this one was gifted, by the way. I wouldn't go out and select Selenite really for any type of jewelry. But the thing is, I'm thinking this one must be like coated in something to protect it, because Selenite is probably the most fragile type of crystal that I've ever come across, because you could even just like touch it with wet hands and then it will just start to fall apart and splinter. It is very, does not work well with water. So you want to keep your selenite in as dry a place as possible. Now, for people who are looking to create selenite jewelry, that's an interesting thing, and I could only hope that there's some kind of a protective coating layer. All right, and then so that one's looking pretty good on that side. I'm just gonna flip back around on this side, finish out to get to the bottom there. And then from here, I'm gonna switch up. So originally I was wrapping these two wires together. Now I'm gonna be wrapping these two together on this side with this wire. And it'll be a little bit tricky. Careful, because you don't wanna like weave it in this thing. I'm gonna go like that. And just continue the weaving. I might just look at that, made it to 10 anyway. Let's see if it does that with the bead there. Nope, it's about an 8. It made it to 10 because of this indenture here, but without that, it's a solid 8, which is good because I didn't want to do a 10. Not today anyway. Another thing too for me to be mindful of, I wonder if those are scratch marks from the copper, because like I said, selenite is a pretty sensitive stone, so that's another thing for me to be mindful of if I'm using selenite for jewelry, is to avoid the scratching. No itching, no scratching. Just kidding, it's not an itch thing. So here I'm catching up, I'm almost to the point where I'll stop and flip it around and start working on the other side, just basically from here to there. I'll stop there. And pull these wires out of the way. And then wrap these wires kind of in towards each other, and I'll do the same thing. So with careful placement, going around both of these wires, I'll pull them into place, and then continue weaving. And this one is a little bit tight. I might even I don't know, I might just get like 2 good ones in, 2 or 3 good ones in where it's all 3 of them. But if you can see, this wire here is super close to the top part here, so it's gonna make it very difficult for me to weave into that gap. So yeah, I think I'll stop at just those three where it wraps all three of them together. And then for the rest, well, actually, no, it's kind of getting easier now that I get further out. I'll do one more at least. It's just, I don't know. Here's what I'll do. I'll wrap it around just the one. A few times. And then from here, it's more or less caught up with where there's 1, 2, and 3 of the 20 gauge wires. And I'm gonna wrap all 3 of those in together. That will look nice. Make sure my 20 gauge wires don't cross around each other. All right. And then from here, I think I'll even bend this wire. It came from this side. I bent it around. And I'm even gonna start wrapping that in there as well. At least just one time. You know what I'll do is I'll do it one time with all 4. And then I'll reverse the direction of the wrap. And then I'll start just wrapping that top on there because that's a pretty long wire. Maybe even, I've got a lot of wire to work with. I definitely overestimated, but like I said, that's better than not having enough wire. So I think from here, what I'm gonna do is get my pliers involved. And there's this bottom wire here. And I'm gonna curl the tip. And then just bend that inwards. And then as best I can, get those guys both wrapped. I did it the wrong way actually. See how easy it is for me to fix this. Because I weaved it. So it was originally, you see how this wire is going around over the top? And then it went over the top there when I should have went under. That makes it look a lot better. And so it looks like we only have enough space to do just the 2. But then from there, we'll weave in these 2. Not weave, but just wrap bands around these 2. And I'm kind of feeling like, why not just go... Actually, I'll hold off on that for a second. What I want to do is wrap both of these together so that they're hugging each other tight. But I think I'll have to do that closer towards the end because I don't really see a gap for it yet. I'll do one more with just the two. That way, there, I got all four together. And I'll do all four once more. And then now I'm just kind of looking for somewhere to tuck in this last wire, so I'm just wrapping it around that top one. And then from here, I'll finish off this side by clipping off the excess. I need just a little bit to curl a very small little spiral. Tuck that in as best I can. And then from here, let's see. So this wire, gonna have to figure out a way to wrap these two together. I'll start, I guess. That kind of works there. We are getting towards the end, and I'm actually starting to feel a little antsy. And that's actually not a good thing. So it's a good thing to practice, if you're feeling antsy, to just put it down, walk away, and come back later. I know generally, if you're into making jewelry, you probably tend to be a little bit more introvert. Not for everybody, of course, but in general rule of thumb. And so anxiety would be totally understandable. And that's an easy solution, to just put it down, come back to it later. So I've kind of run out of space. There's not really much of a gap between the wire and the bead. Yeah, those are totally scratch marks, but that's all right. So what I'm gonna do is, here come my workers, my boss actually, my co-workers. So I'm gonna clip this off and call it good, and just curl out the tips, curling them inwards. So that the tips are not poking out, because that's the most important thing for when you finish. And that's how you do a copper ring.